Hey guys, welcome back to Airsoft in Japan, and let's talk about Woodland. But before we get started, we have to prove that this toy right here is a toy. There you go. It is empty magazine, and it is on safe. So let's talk about Woodland and Airsoft. I don't play it. That being said, this past weekend when I did play it, I had a lot of fun. Now I have to admit that in that video, I said it was my first time playing Woodland at OPS, which is true, but it is not the very first time that I played Woodland. It was actually like my second time. The last time I played Woodland was about 2 years ago when I was first starting to play Airsoft. It was at Tenguyama. I might throw up some footage here, really old shaky footage. It was a really horrible time. I did not have fun. And part of that was because we were facing ghillie suit snipers who did not have markers on them. So after that experience and after watching a bunch of my friends and a bunch of new players that we brought with us not have a good time, I just completely avoided Woodland because I can't see anybody. I can't see anybody. That's basically. So what I want to do is give my feedback on Woodland Airsoft in the context of Japan and kind of give my final verdict on it. Did I only have fun because it was like the first thing, or would it become something that I hate down the line? Let's go through the list. So one, of course, is magnification. Having magnification was definitely a must-have prerequisite for me if I were to go out into Woodland. And it proved successful. I was actually able to see my enemies, and people kind of downplay LPVOs, saying like, oh, magnification, you don't need an airsoft, blah, 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 you know, you're not gonna hit your target, BBs go everywhere. And yes, there are, you know, probably 50% variation in your BB's trajectory and stuff like that, wind and all that. But honestly, it's more of having intel for one, and two, being able to have the knowledge of where your BBs are actually going and being able to make those adjustments. So obviously for me, with my limitation, we had 20 round magazines. So I knew I couldn't just be spraying with my 150 round mid cap. I knew that I had to be accurate and I had to be precise and I had to be methodical with the amount of shots that I could take with this thing. And luckily, my SCAR H is super accurate and it goes really far. And the LPVO coupled with this made it really, really easy to actually compete. And I can't imagine myself using an EOTech or using a red dot in Woodland. It's just not worth it unless I was running up. You know, and that was another thing too about Woodland. Aside from the challenge of visibility, as well as having basically infinite amount of angles that people can shoot you from, map knowledge was a big thing too. So you guys have seen gameplays of me playing at Tenku, and I've been to that map a million times in one. So I know where all the good spots are, I know where people can come from. But when I was going into brand new territory like OPS, I had no idea how this field played other than the fact that it had a hill. So all I really did was move up slowly because I didn't have enough intel to move up. And guys, you know, intel wins wars, intel wins everything. And having an LPVO, being able to look through the bushes and just kind of scout around, really helped me and my teammates. So I feel like that is one of the biggest challenges of Woodland. So talking about magnification and visibility, the more you zoom in, the more aiming stability counts. So the more idle sway you have, the more you have to hold your breath and all that kind of stuff becomes more important. And I noticed that actually mounting on something, mounting on a piece of a barricade, mounting on a tree, using your magazine as a bipod really helps. Being able to get on target quickly and being able to make those adjustments and shoot through tiny cracks and get people in the knuckles, because I was either mounting on a piece of cover or a barricade, or I was like crouched, so I was like mounting technically on my knee. And aiming stability was probably one of the most important stats, I guess, to have. But that's not to say that aim down sight speed wasn't something that you needed, because, you know, everyone's just camping. If someone showed up and I was on this 3 times magnification, I still had to be able to get my gun up really quickly and still deck out some BBs and sling the BBs at him. You have to do that, move around, do it again, mount on a piece of cover, do it again, and do all that, all with 20 rounds. So the fundamentals of your weapon handling is definitely still important in Woodland. Another thing that I noticed about Woodland is that fogging was a huge issue. And the very first time I played at Tenguyama years ago, I still had that issue. Fog city, even with goggles, bro. And OPS was the same thing. Even though it didn't rain the day before, I was still struggling to see sometimes. And that had to do with my body heat going up, cold air outside. So a mixture of that causes a lot of condensation and all the science stuff. So that was one of the challenges. So not only is it hard to see just in general, it's harder to see because you're fogging up. Speaking of body heat, one thing about Woodland is that it really does take a lot of stamina and endurance and energy to play it. Meanwhile, I'm at CQB, you know, inside, we don't really run, but Woodland is pure, full body energy, a lot of legs, a lot of crouching, a lot of going on the ground, a lot of running up hills, a lot of sliding down hills, a lot of endurance is needed to play Woodland if you want to play at an interesting pace. Like, I could sit there for 40 minutes and do nothing, but I'm more of an aggressive-ish player, and I like to kind of get into the action and actually get you guys footage and stuff like that and actually play the game. It requires me to move around, do a lot of sprinting, do a lot of this and that. And that kind of brings me to what kind of loadout you should bring. And yes, the SCAR was fine and the 20-round magazines was a challenge, but also having such a heavy airsoft toy made it really hard on the body. And you know, that's my own fault. You just gotta work out, you gotta exercise, you gotta do your thing. Haven't been doing that lately. But if I were to do it again, I would kind of bring a lighter rifle, but still have that magnification. But goddamn, the SCAR is so cool. But anyway, it takes a lot of energy to play Woodland. And lastly, one of my biggest observations about Woodland is that it's more about the fun than the competition. And I know that's a weird thing to say because airsoft is not a competitive sport. At the end of the day, it's a gentleman's sport. It's just for fun. It's LARPing at best. And I found that Woodland was more about having fun and more about being in this adventure and being in the dirt with your friends and getting down on the ground and trying to spot enemies and crawling through the bushes and running around and sliding. And I remember I had a game where I was like, you know, I'm not gonna get this guy in CQB. I'm just gonna go and save all my teammates because it was a meta game. So I just went and I slid, I saved this dude. I slid down a mountain and I just saved a bunch of other guys, broke a bunch of my gear. My whole getup was completely covered in dirt. Even my SCAR is like covered in dirt, and there's something about that really makes it fun. I didn't feel the pressure to perform so well. The only pressure I felt was being able to get content because you could sit there and do nothing. But once you're in that action, it's just a lot of fun. It's a nice change of pace for me, and it's kind of revitalized the sport for me because up until now, I've just been playing CQB and Urban, and those are really highly competitive environments because maps are so, like, the map design is already there and everybody knows the good corners, everybody knows this, everyone knows that, but the woods is the woods. The enemy could be literally anywhere, aside from a few barricades on top of the hill or whatever, but they can be anywhere. Nowhere is really that safe. So it really makes you think and it really makes you feel immersed. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. It's a very immersive experience. And if I were to answer the question, would I play it again? Honestly, I think I would, but I only would with my friends. We're well equipped for Woodland now. So should you play Woodland? I'd say hell yes. If it's the only place you have, I kind of feel bad for you. But luckily here in Japan, you have a lot of options to choose from Woodland, CQB, and urban settings. But it's still 50 bucks to go play airsoft here in Japan for a day, and that's just for the fare and the fee. And speaking of which, if you guys want to support your boy going out into airsoft and play more airsoft, you could become a channel member and get exclusive videos, behind the scenes, full-length uncut gameplays of my Woodland adventures for $5 a month. And if you can't afford it, leave a like, subscribe, watch the ads. It helps a lot. But anyway, guys, that's all I got for today. Thanks so much for watching. And if you want to watch more videos about airsoft in Japan, go ahead and click this video right here.